Welcome to Herbal Explorations, a podcast hosted by Wilson Lau of New Herbs. Each week, we speak to leading experts about what's happening in the herbal industry.
Hi, welcome to Herbal Explorations. I would like to introduce my dear friend, Bill Chioffi, the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer of NAMMEX, which specializes in medicinal mushroom extracts. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Yeah, great to be here, Wilson. Great to see you again.
Today is going to be shotgun questions about sustainability. So here we go, Bill. How do you define sustainability in 1 to 3 sentences?
This is a very interesting question because there are many different definitions. You can go back to some after this interview and look up like the USDA's definitions for sustainability. You'd want to make sure which sector you're defining for your sustainability. In general, if we are giving back more than we're taking out of any one system that involves the interface of people, plants, food, resources that come from the environment, if we're taking back more than we put back into that system, is there a way that we can stem that balance so that we are putting back more than we take? And also at the same time being able to feed, clothe, and properly care for all of the individuals in that supply chain. That would be a good definition of sustainability if it was achievable.
I love your definition of it, and it's very succinct. I think that you're beyond being neutral. You want to be net negative or net positive, depending how you look at it. So we might have an issue of where Patagonia says nothing's quite sustainable because we haven't figured out how to be net negative or positive yet. What is one thing a company what's one thing a company can implement today to create a better tomorrow?
Well, I love the thought of thinking at least 7 generations down the road in terms of what you do today. I love all of the initiatives of putting efforts into planting more trees in areas where they're needed. That's a simple thing to do. I think one very interesting thing that any company can do is pick one of their, in terms of plant sustainability, which is specifically what we're talking about here, pick any one plant in your supply chain and know it from its very beginnings as a seed through to the finished part of your product. If you do that, you have a roadmap by which you can follow all of your other ingredients through your own unique supply chain.
I love it, Bill. I think the key is that once you've done it, you'll see how complex and complicated the supply chain actually is for just even one ingredient and how much opportunity lies within it. I think knowing your plant and knowing your supply chain, how it's being processed, how it's being transported, how it's being stored, all those things make a huge difference. And really understanding the complexities of this and how complex the question really is. But the opportunity is that you really understand the problem in order to start implementing solutions.
Absolutely.
What are 1 to 2 of the biggest opportunities that a company can implement, in your opinion, right now to improve its sustainability efforts, in addition to knowing the plant? Like, what are some things that they can actually just start doing today, you think?
In terms of what I see happening in practical terms across the board now, as working with NAMMEX, I'm an ingredient supplier, and we work with several different brands. And I think dedicating resources to sustainability within your organization that aren't just a wing of your marketing or other parts of your operation team, but having a dedicated staff that serves the mission of sustainability within your company. And because there are too many to name, I won't name companies, but there are companies that have dedicated sustainability officers and director of sustainability that, take charge of these issues within the company and shepherd projects through that are integral to their missions. So that's one thing that you could do. A second thing, and I think most companies are aware of this, is not the product itself, but the packaging in which it's contained. And I think our consumers are telling us that very loudly, that they would prefer to buy things that are either recycled or have some non-single-use component to them.
I think packaging is a huge area, as you identified. One of the things I love the idea of having someone, really dedicated to sustainability within a company. And I think one of the things that what I actually tell my staff is like, when you're doing something, think about it, is this a sustainable thing? And just ask yourself that question. And if it's not, what can we do to make it more sustainable? Because it's not necessarily, you're not going to have all the wins in overnight, right? It's an incremental step and it's a continuous, right? This, like you said, 7 generations, right? It's not only what we do today, but what we do tomorrow and the future, really to set that framework. And it's a nonstop, it's nonstop work and innovation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And last question, what's one tip you could share with our listeners on how to successfully advocate for sustainability projects in their company? Because, I know you used to work at Gaia and now at NAMMEX, all wonderful, stewards of sustainability. What are some tips you could share with the listener? Like, how can they advocate for sustainability within their own company?
The one tip that I could give anybody that's listening that's involved in sustainability within their companies is to, as close as you possibly can, be with the plant or the packaging in its place of origin, where you can truly understand the needs of that system that's producing your good. So if it's a packaging plant, or if it's a company that makes bottles or something, go see them. Ask for a tour. Ask to see the process. It doesn't have to be a full audit. They're usually happy to book you to come see their business. Not as easy when you might have to travel to Indonesia or to China or other places in the world. But I think that's either having that boots on the ground contact at the place of origin is crucial. Whether it's yourself or a very close contact that you trust in country that may even be part of the organization speaking the language. But I think that in my experience, the things that I was able to learn through research and paperwork were often quite different than what I could learn when I was in some place. And Wilson, you and I have been on visits together like this. So, And again, those resources may not be available. So we now have to get more creative by how we are going to vet out our supply chains if we can't. And lastly, this is always difficult, Wilson, because there's so much to say, but yes. I always used to think about my carbon offsets when I was traveling by jet all over the world to see different places, and thinking about, how sustainable was that in itself? Was there a different way I could accomplish that? And maybe we are learning some lessons through technology where we could be able to do some of these things quite easily without getting on a plane. So
I agree with you with our carbon footprint. I probably disagree with you about, there's nothing that substitutes being there, because I think, like you said, although it may not be a formal audit, you as a skilled and experienced practitioner will identify opportunities to improve, or, to whether you understand, when you understand the process, you really understand where the opportunities lie, right? Or the problems, right? And I think that's where that hands-on, really walking the plant or the field or both really allows you to do. And I really appreciate you coming on and joining us to talk about sustainability, and look forward to seeing you soon, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Wilson, for the opportunity, and keep up the great work. The more information that we get out to folks, the easier it will become to make these things a reality.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the business of herbs and botanicals, visit newherbs.com. To keep listening to great episodes, be sure to subscribe to this podcast in iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, or Spotify, and make sure to give us a rating too.